Hello, family. I want to call this video the first release. I want to get out all the things that I feel about different sequences of my life, things that have happened in my life, but I want to do it in a sequential order. So bear with me. I'm going to try and publicize some events in the order of which they have happened. From the beginning, I am an only child um, from my mother. I'm an only child. Um, my mother had me when she was 17 years old, and prior to her having me, she was somewhat of just, I guess, a troubled child. You know, um, she dealt with a lot of things with her family. They considered her to be a black sheep. So she was troublesome, did things to, I guess, siblings, and, you know, my grandmother really didn't have the patience or the tolerance, if you will, to continue to deal with her and deal with her other children. Now, my mother is one of four children. She has an older sibling who is physically and mentally disabled. She was born normal, but she went through the windshield of a car as an infant, which made her handicapped. She's over 55 years old and still to this day cannot do some of the things that you and I do for ourselves on a daily basis for herself. Um, but in saying that, my mother has two brothers as well. So it's two girls and, two boys. With my mother being so troubled, I guess, as a youth, my grandmother decided to send her to her father. And, all of my grandmother's children have four different fathers. So there are four children with four different fathers. And my grandmother was married to her last child's father. And, they just didn't want to be bothered. I came from a background of people who love to drink, love to party, love to laugh, and put things in the background of their lives that really may have been important to someone like you or I. For years, I did not know that my aunt, who I'm speaking of, that's physically and mentally retarded and handicapped, I didn't know she existed. As a child, I didn't know she was in the world. I didn't know. And I'm going to go back a little bit about my mom. My grandmother decided to send her away to her father. And her father was someone who she had never met before this date. Um, she just, she was being abused at home, and, just nobody wanted to be bothered. And my mother's father molested her. Okay. So she was sent back home to my grandmother, and to add, you know, heartache to insult, or however you would say it, insult to heartache. Now she's dealing with abuse and molestation. Well, it was hushed. It was never discussed. It was never, My grandmother knew what happened. My mother told her, but it was just kind of like pushed under the rug, you know. Um, Nobody called her a liar, but they didn't want no, you know, they nobody wanted anybody in the family to know about it. So it was just kind of like, okay, we believe you. Get somewhere and sit down. Well, I think in my mother's life that took a big toll on events that would continuously happen and are still happening today. Um, my mother got pregnant with me the first time she had sexual intercourse with my father, um, looking for love, you know, and I was conceived. Um, she suffered and still suffers through a great deal of depression and neediness and just a loss of support. Um, and she's over 50 years old. Um, my grandmother passed away 2 years ago of cancer, and I still feel as though my mother felt like she had so much to prove, you know, um, to people in the family. You know, she had the first child. I'm the firstborn grandchild. She was a mother of poverty. You know, I was raised as many people were um, on public aid. You know, my mother lacked education. She did at some point go back to school and obtain her um, certified nurses assistant, you know, certification. That was a struggle for her. She dropped out of high school. You know, she didn't graduate high school like all of her friends. She never married. You know, she has never experienced a healthy relationship with a man without there being some abuse involved. Um, from the time that I could remember as a kid, you know, relationships that my mother has encountered have always been physically and mentally abusive. She really never loved herself. And don't get me wrong, you know, she would have good days, but she would have more bad days than she would have good days. Um, the use of drugs came into play. Um, I suffered a tremendous amount of abuse because of her stages and battles with depression. I don't think she meant any harm. I just don't think she knew better. And nobody wanted to be involved. Nobody wanted to step up to the plate. Nobody wanted to assist her. You know, it was already rumored that, you know, she's just a mess, so just let her be, she'll figure it out type of thing. Um, this is part one. And I'm going to continue until I'm done with this. I have so much to say. Please keep watching and keep listening and comment if you feel like it. This is my life.